Good morning, everyone. It is Friday. Excited for the weekend. I hope you're also excited for the weekend. It has been a pretty busy week here in the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of overcast today, so another cloudy October day. Overall, the weather's been pretty good up until now. What I wanted to do today is I have a few topics I want to run through, and I will take questions in the chat if anyone has questions. So let's dive in. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about was this week I used Norwegian Wood as the song in the strumming video that I just did. And what happened is today I was standing at the bus stop with the kids and I noticed myself singing the song or like humming the melody. And it just reinforced my understanding that melody is really so important for good songs and memorable songs. And while the words are important, it seems to take a backseat sometimes. So sometimes we'll know a few words in a song and then we know how it goes and how the melody goes, but we're not necessarily focused on the words so much. So that was just an interesting little anecdote to start my morning on Friday, kind of realizing that Norwegian Wood really sticks in your mind, which is a good thing. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience making this strumming video this week because I started off with a plan. I was going to just go through certain strumming patterns, and as I got into it, I discovered some of them I didn't know, and there's just so many options that there was a lot more to learn than I expected. So I hope that what I shared in the strumming video is helpful to you. Please take a look at that after you watch this live, and hopefully that will spark some interest in practicing more of the strumming patterns. I found it was pretty fun to try new ones, so hope you can try that out this weekend. I had a request to do so last week. I did an analysis of a song, the Bob Dylan song, "Don't Don't Think Twice, It's All Right," and I did that analysis, and then I got a request to do a Beatles song. So it would just by chance that I have Let It Be sort of on my list of songs that I've sung in the past. But I decided to go ahead and do a quick analysis on that. And so a few things that there's a lot of information available about this particular song. So was able to do a little bit of research. And it was interesting because the first thing that I read about it and read about the song was that Paul McCartney actually wrote the song based on him waking up from a dream. So I think I talked about that in a previous songwriting video about how some people who are songwriters wake up and just have an idea in their mind, or they'll even have lyrics. So this is a fairly common occurrence, I guess. And this just reinforced that as well. And so the song Let It Be was written by, I guess it was primarily written by Paul McCartney, but when you look at the credits, it's actually credited to both John Lennon and Paul McCartney. When I was doing the reading about it, apparently, so in the song, there's the line he talks about Mary, Mother Mary, come to me, and his mother's name was actually Mary, and she had died, I guess, when Paul was young or fairly young, like a teenager. And so in the song, it references Mary, but there's almost this dual mention. Like one is more on from a religious tone, and the other is his mother. So that was kind of an interesting thing. I kind of thought that might be the case, but it was interesting to hear that it was actually his mother's name was Mary also. In the song, it talks about there's a line speaking words of wisdom. And so getting these guiding phrases from his dreams perhaps, or what he is like a vision, I guess, that you're getting of maybe somebody from your past. And so getting advice from that person was kind of an interesting thought, to get someone who's passed away already, coming and giving you advice. It was an interesting idea. And then there's a part where in the song it mentions an hour of darkness. And I talked about this last week in my analysis of Bob Dylan's song, where he talks about the light and on the dark side of the road. And so again, it was this use of dark and light to indicate mood. So that seems to be a recurring theme that I'm seeing in some of these songs. And then there was the mention in Let It Be of the word, in the use of the word like whisper. And so whisper could be considered like you're telling somebody something, but it's not that they have to do it, but sort of giving them some advice on the side to consider. So that was the way, the word whisper sort of was used there. And then in the song, it also mentions the term brokenhearted. So this idea that there's a lot of people in pain. And so it could be more, instead of just him maybe being pain, it can be all encompassing, like everyone is in pain, to make this song more relatable to everyone. And the idea that there's a lot of people brokenhearted and they need to be healed. And that's where the line, "There will be an answer." So sometimes to heal, an answer will just come to you if you wait and be patient for that. So that was really kind of interesting. It had a bit of religious or faith sort of intertwined into this song, which I guess I hadn't really thought about before. When I listened to it, it just sounds like let it be, leave it alone. Didn't really think that deeply on it. But then when I dove into the lyrics, it was surprisingly even more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So I hope you enjoyed that review of the Beatles song. And hopefully, if you have, I see a few people joined in. If anybody has any questions or comments, now would be a good time to jump into the chat. So that summarizes my analysis of the Beatles. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is really the motivation for the week and sort of keeping your energy up during this week. For me, the whole week seemed a bit of a slog. I have elementary age kids, and for some reason, the full moon this week really disrupted the whole house. People were a little bit more on edge. People were tired and just not themselves. And so, yeah, it was just a bit of a struggle. And then their struggle kind of impacted me as well, because they wanted more attention or more time and all these sorts of things. So it made it really hard to stay on schedule of the things that I wanted to accomplish, because typically for me, I'm creating one long form video a week, and I'm trying to do that at the front end of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, scripting, filming, and then finishing up editing on Thursday. Well, last night at, I think, 11 o'clock, I finished the editing of the video and then did the final activities for posting it. So I was really kind of up against the end of my deadline. For me is the end of the day, Thursday. So I did meet the deadline ultimately. Could there be things that I could have done differently or better? Sure, there always is. But sometimes when you have these other things going on, you sort of have to be flexible on what you can actually accomplish in the time that you're given. And that's sort of what happened to me this week. I had some ideas of more things I wanted to do in the video. I ended up doing an analysis of and showing some examples of one different song for each, for a series of different strumming patterns. And I really wanted to do more songs than that. So what I may do is a follow-up, or I may just sing some songs that use some of these different strumming patterns, and then we can reference back to those. So the last thing I wanted to do is talk about, what uh, what you have. So for in the comments for today, look for what are some of the things that you were challenged with this week from a motivation standpoint and roadblocks that you had that I can talk about in future videos or future lives. And then also, please make sure to check out some of my other videos that I have around. I mentioned the strumming video, but if you're new to guitar, check out the learn to play guitar uh, song or sorry, learn to play guitar video. Sorry, it's Friday and I only had one cup of coffee. So what I thought I would do today, I'm going to try to play Norwegian wood here. I'll give this a shot. I guess I can't. I had to get it up a little higher here. All right. I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me a room, isn't it good? Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay and she told me to sit anywhere. So I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. I sat on a rug, biding my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 2, and then she said, it's time for bed. She told me she worked in the morning and started to laugh. She told me she didn't and crawled off to sleep in the bath. And when I awoke, I was alone. This bird had flown. So I lit a fire, isn't it good? Norwegian wood. So, as you probably noticed, let me put this back up. As you probably noticed in the song, I went back and forth between a couple different strumming styles. And sometimes I do that out of necessity. Like it's hard for me to keep going to doing those particular strums for the entire song. So I did get a little bit lazy there, not doing the full. But then when you get to the intro or the outro, I can, add more strumming into those pieces. And I think of it as when you're at the beginning of the song, or sometimes there's the in between or the end, there are these sections where there is, just some chords to play. So those are places you can perhaps experiment with more complicated strumming patterns. Some people learn to do picking make those more interesting. So that could be another thing to consider as you're, practicing your different songs, that it's okay to even switch strumming to different patterns throughout the song, which is something that I hadn't really talked about previously. So that is what I wanted to cover for today's live. Again, please make sure to check out some of my other videos, and I hope that you have a great week this week. Stay motivated and continue to work on practicing your guitar or ukulele or whatever you want to play. And I will see you next week. Thanks.